Welcome to Built for This, the podcast where real estate meets real life skills. Hosted by Andrea Lane and Alissa Bickar, each episode features investors turning their unique edge into long-term rental success.
Hello and welcome to the Built for This podcast. I am your hostess, Alissa Bickar, the consultress, here with my partner in crime and co-host, the fearless real estate investor, Andrea Lane. We bring real conversations with real estate investor in today's marketplace who are looking to grow. And so, Andrea, who do we have for them today?
So today is a really interesting guest. His name is Troy Paul. He lives in Kansas City, Missouri. He has 3 multifamilies in Kansas City, as well as an Airbnb in Belford. Did I say that?
Yeah.
But the interesting part is he does container builds. So he doesn't do traditional builds. So I'm really looking forward to hearing about your journey, Troy. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you both for having me today. I appreciate you having me on. And yeah, I'm excited to talk to you guys about what we're doing here in Kansas City and Bentonville, home of Walmart. That's where it's kind of the tie-in there. So anyway.
Great. So what put you into real estate investing? What got you interested?
Well, I've always been an entrepreneur. So after college, I started my company and I started flipping homes in the 90s. And so I would buy and just sell. And then I started needing to hold properties. I felt like that wasn't the best way to go. I mean, it's a great way to go, but why build long-term, residual income? So then I started holding some properties too. I sold most of my single-family homes in the early 2000s. I was able to luckily get out before the big fall. And then after the fall, we started investing in multifamily projects. So I have a construction company, and I do a lot of work in the multifamily sector. And so then I'd get opportunities to go ahead and invest in the properties I was working on, and that's how I acquired the 3 multifamily complexes up here in Kansas City. And then, like you said, I started doing shipping containers in the multifamily sector, and we built Kansas City's first apartment complex. We have 48 studio units that have been built out of shipping containers. It's called Signal Hill Studios, and it's right here in Kansas City. And that was the first of its kind here in Kansas City. And so we're, continuing to do those kind of projects as well.
That sounds great. I have to tell you, when we go out, probably in another 6 months, we'll be back in Missouri. We may call you up and say, we want to see these shipping containers. It sounds fascinating to me, right?
I'd love to show you what we did. It's a really fun project. And we took something that was 30 years old. These were containers that came off of a 30-year-old lease with a railroad company and transformed them back into housing. And so it's I enjoy my name, and I named this before I did the containers, my company's Next Generation. So now we have the next generation of containers too, right? Something that was moving logistics that now we're putting people into as a home. And so, we built something that I think will sustain for another 30 to 50 or more years. And we had a lot of fun doing that there in Kansas City.
Nice. So what do you love most about real estate?
Well, what I really like about real estate is finding those gems. They're harder to find these days, but just finding those properties since I'm a remodeler, nothing really scares me, when I go into a project. I like the ones that have bad foundations or bad roofs, because that's what we do every day, and we fix that kind of stuff. So I like finding good real estate that's in a good area that probably is old and tired that I can bring back to life, find a good client to rent that, and really provide something nice for somebody else down the road. So that's really why I enjoy real estate, is just taking my skills as a remodeler and then building it into a future home for myself and for my tenants.
I like that. I don't lift a hammer, so that wouldn't be my skill set, but I like that.
Yeah.
So how did you find that your past professional skills? You were an entrepreneur and then you went into a business like containers. How do you find that it translated into your real estate strategy?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think with my entrepreneurship, that's kind of why I chose the containers, because I didn't want to do something that everybody else has been doing. The way my mind works is I get excited about something new and different. And so, we're always remodeling, we're always doing just kind of single family homes and turn them into rentals. But to take the shipping containers, that was actually something that really was able to use my entrepreneurship use my creative side and then bring in a product that people really haven't seen here in Kansas City before. So it still, gets my creative juices going and my entrepreneurship side of just trying to create something new and different for clients out there.
Nice, nice. So what's your unfair advantage? What's the one thing that you bring to the marketplace that's unfair?
Well,
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold on. Well,
Okay.
caveat.
answer this one for us?
He's a fair businessman. Caveat. Just
Yeah,
want to.
We are doing things fair. Yes, we are. Right. Let's make that very clear. It's very fair. But yeah, I do. This is an interesting question as well because with my construction background, when you walk into a house that has a crumbling foundation, that's really scary to a lot of investors or for sure, a first-time home buyer or a home buyer, right? Well, I see that as an opportunity. We fix foundation problems all the time. That's a really big ticket item. There's a really big upcharge for big foundation companies, especially in our area with our soil. And we're able to go in and be able to keep that cost down, and that's an opportunity. So it's kind of unfair because I can go in and say, "Oh, this smells like money," or "This really looks like a good opportunity," So when houses have really bad, maybe we've had pets in them before. Somebody will walk in a house like that and just walk right out. There's no way I would touch a house like that. I think that smells like money again. Like, oh, this is a terrible smell, but I know how to fix this, and we can really turn this back into a beautiful home for folks. And so I think that's my unfair advantage, knowing construction and what stuff really does cost and what it does cost me, to do that's kind of a little bit unfair. And that helps me to win some projects or win some bids when I'm bidding on houses like that.
Yeah,
Nice.
I mean, so having the background to be able to scope the project gives you that edge, that competitive advantage. That's kind of
With
where I was
the
going
edge,
with that
I think
unfair
edge.
thing.
I think
It
yeah,
gives a competitive
competitive
advantage.
edge. Yes.
And also,
Kinder,
what?
kinder than I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, one of the things I also heard in there was that I walk in and it quote unquote smells like money, and to some it just smells like run for the hills.
Yes.
One of the things as I began to invest in single family properties, I had to unlearn or retrain my brain as I would walk in places and go, oh, I wouldn't want to live here. And that was my gut check that I had to retrain my intuition that like, if I'm looking to create value and improve situations for people to have good living spaces, maybe when I walk in the door, it's not a place I would buy to live in myself, but it's like you said, it's an opportunity to create value. And so, oftentimes when we take ourselves from like owner operator in our business to CEO and manager, we have to start thinking a little bit differently about how we're assessing and viewing opportunity. And so with that, can you bring us in and tell us a story when you noticed that shift for yourself from this looks like what everybody's maybe always done into like, ooh, this looks blue ocean, or this looks like an opportunity. Where did you first start to kind of pivot that focus for yourself?
Yes. Well, very well said. And I think that is a mindset that you have to shift in. And I do remember it on my second big flip I was doing here. And I walked into a house and the floors were just rolling, and so we wondered what was going on, what was causing this settling in this property. It was a nice big home, old, about, 1930s home. And this is in like 1999, right? This is a while back. And so I had a guy that was in the foundation business, and that was kind of a mentor towards me, an older gentleman at the time to me then. And I brought him in, and he said, okay, we got bad termites in the main beam of the house. The termites have literally eaten out the main beam. But we can fix this. No one else is really going to want to come in and do this, but we can, if you shift your mindset, this is not a deal killer. This is actually a deal maker. And so I had that mindset there. And and his name was Matt. And Matt Davis was a great mentor for me back then. And I remember we were in the middle of that project. We shored that house up. We took that main beam out. We raised it up, and I remember it creaking and cracking. And I was like, we were in the basement, and he was like, "Are you scared yet?" And I'm like, "I'm terrified right now." I remember bringing my dad down, and he's like, "You are so crazy. This is a house you would run from. No one would ever do a house like this." But we'd made out really well on that home. We brought that home back to life. That home is still here, in Kansas City, being as a rental. I've since sold it, but that was really kind of my mind shift of that. That is not something to scare you and make you run away. That is for you to see an opportunity and something you can come in and fix that most people can't. And so that's really where my mindset kind of started. So termites, foundation issues, bad roofs, those kind of things kind of excite me, and they don't scare me at all. I really see them as an opportunity.
So and I want to just because you have a construction background, even that termite build pillar at first was a scary thing for you. So for folks that are bringing, money expertise to the table, it might not look like I want to take on a construction project that is at the value creation. Maybe you're looking at deals more creatively. Maybe you're structuring your opportunity in a way where you can see things that other people can't on your team. And so I just really want to highlight the fact that you are thinking like a business person in this story. You're thinking, okay, how do I make this work? Is the risk worth the reward? And this is part of what it takes to stay in business as a real estate investor, is to think like a business owner, not just, is this asset worth it black and white by itself?
Yes, you're correct. And that is not a mindset that I think everybody has. And I think that, I think first it's the intimidation factor, right? Is just people don't know. And so then they get worried about it. And then to your point there, that is an opportunity to really use my business side of my mind. And so over time, I've worked with so many investors that I kind of have that investor mindset for even my clients, so I like to invest for myself, but I also like to help investors find their next deals. And so I take that knowledge and I say, I not only do understand, from your standpoint I know I'm going to tell you what we're going to do construction wise, how we're going to fix it, but I'm also going to tell you from as a business guy and from an investor on your side, hey, this is a way to do it because, we're able to save some money here. We're able to take advantage of this situation, and be able to do a value add, and people don't normally see that. And so I feel like that gives me a little bit of an edge. Once again, back to this edge, Andrea, of I think I get chosen a lot to work with investors because I do have the understanding, and I can put my feet in both camps as a contractor or as an investor. And my clients love that. I really hear that from my clients, and I think that's why I have continued. My main client I worked for since 2007. We've done probably over $500 million in investments together. He probably has a portfolio that's over 500 million, and I've been able to have my hand in some aspect of that all the way along the way. So,
boy, I wish you lived where I work so I could hire you.
yeah.
It's a little too far for you to travel for.
No, yeah. Or unless you just bring me a big shipping container project, and we'll just ship them all over there for you, and then we'll put together a big complex for
We
you.
may talk about that. We'll see how that goes.
Yes.
So I know you have these properties, and one of them is not near where you live. So do you self-manage it, or do you have property?
I do. Yeah. So, that is a challenge, and self-managing property it's 3 hours door to door, so, if I had an emergency and the place was flooding right now, I could jump in the truck and get there. But, it is a ways away. So I do have a good management. So we just use Airbnbs. There's great software, Guestly and some of these softwares really help us to just keep this stuff automated. So management in Airbnb is not as intimidating as it used to be. You don't have to live next door to that property because you have to be there to clean it every day, right? So we have good services that help us, manage that property through the internet, through platforms on apps and stuff. So we've got good. You're as good as your cleaner is, really, in Airbnb. So we've got a phenomenal cleaning team. And then I have a good maintenance program too. And so I've got a maintenance program down there to where I've got a guy that comes in and checks monthly. And if they have to have something that happens quicker, then we would deploy them quicker. But it does have a little bit of logistics because, there is, things that I just want to go down and personally check on and make sure that the property is in good standing and is, giving our guests a great experience. And so there is a little bit of a challenge, but it's really, our world is so, like we're doing today, our world is so easily accessible from city to city now through internet, through connections like this. So it's actually, I really encourage people to have property outside of their hometown now, because it really has managed itself a little bit because of, what Airbnb and what VRBO have done for us.
So what about the properties that are close to your home? Do you manage those as well?
No, those are because those are complexes, and so they're bigger. They're all 125 units. So we have management teams there on site, and we have property maintenance folks there too. And so those are kind of an engine in itself, and it's all owned. There's a group of us that own these three, and there's actually this goes back to that big investor that I was saying that has a bunch of that money. So I've invested in with him, and we have our team, and we have Axiom Property Management, and they manage everything for us. And what's really good is you invest in these properties is finding somebody to actually really provide good reporting. So I think one thing we do in our Airbnb in Bentonville is how do we report out. I do have a partner on that. One of my good buddies is my partner. How do I report back to him what we're doing? And so on the three here in town, we've got really good reporting systems. So once a quarter, we see how we're doing on our rents, how our maintenance is, if we're up or we're down, how our dividends are going to be on our payouts. And so, finding a company when you're investing that has that good back end reporting, I think is very important. And then your investment is solid, that you can watch and keep your tab on that a little bit without it being there day to day, Andrea.
100%.
And so what exciting plans do you have in the works over the next 6 to 12 months?
So right now, I've got an offer in. I don't know if we'll find out probably by Friday if we're going to get it. It was an auction on another property down in Bentonville. So I'm really in love with Bentonville right now. As I maybe mentioned earlier, I'm a cyclist, and so Bentonville's really big into mountain biking. It's kind of the mountain biking capital of the world, is they're kind of what they're saying, and I kind of agree. I do a lot of mountain biking down there, so I really want to be invested more in Bentonville. I feel like that's a great opportunity for Airbnbs. People travel around the country, even around the world, to come to this place now, and so I really need, my goal is to have 5 Airbnbs out of shipping containers in the next 5 years. So that's really where I'm headed next for my next project. So 2026 will be another shipping container home in Bentonville.
Right on.
I like it.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
That's where we're going to meet you guys. When we go to me, we're going to take you to that shipping container home, get you on the bicycles probably too. I'll talk you into it. I'll give you e-bikes.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Right on. And so we're so grateful that we got the opportunity to interview you and to kind of talk shop a little bit about how you're using your entrepreneurial chops to better your real estate investments and strategies and workflows, et cetera. If people want to learn more, where can they go to find you?
So you can find me on LinkedIn, under Troy Paul on LinkedIn. And then, my website shows a lot of the projects we're working on. It shows our Airbnbs. That website is ngckc.com. That's an acronym for Next Generation Construction Kansas City. So ngckc.com. You can hit the information page there, and they'll send us an email. You can see our projects there. And then, we'd be happy to get back to you and talk about a shipping container, Airbnb, or something larger. We'd love to talk to anybody about those projects. And I do thank both of you for giving me the opportunity to come on and learn from you guys. I know you're investors, and also to share some of my story. And I really do appreciate the time.
Together we're better. This is part of the plan here, is to make sure everyone gets connected to interesting people doing amazing things in the world of real estate investment. It's not just buying assets, it's building a business. And thank you for sharing your wisdom with us and with our audience. So if you're listening to this on a podcast streaming platform, don't go away. We have another amazing guest lined up for you right after this.
This wraps another episode of Built for This. If you're a real estate investor with a unique edge, apply to join us at builtforthisshow.com/guest.